Is it that time already? Oh my God. It is that time already, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to the Paranormal Portal. I'm your host, Brent Thomas. Thank you so much for being here and being a part of the journey as always. And it is Saturday night, and I can't tell you, it's about the most sacred trust that I ever get is that you guys devote part of your weekends to hanging out right here with me. That's pretty cool. Thank you guys for doing that. And hope you guys are having a brilliant weekend. I think it's nice weekend here. The sun is still shining. It's nice out there. I actually spent quite a bit of time out there today trying to mow my lawn, and I actually got some of it done, so that's a good thing, and some weed whipping and stuff. But I'm here in the commanding chair, and I hope to bring you safely through the Paranormal Portal tonight. So by all means, buckle up and get ready for a good ride. Tonight we're going to cover a lot of things. Always we're going to do the news, of course, and we're going to talk about a topic of Bigfoot that we really don't talk about here on the show a whole lot. And that has to do with, the tracks and casts and stuff, and some of the people involved in that, and how I think that casts are often overlooked. And discarded because, well, it's just casts. But I think that they collectively are a huge and impressive body of evidence to suggest the reality of a Bigfoot species existing in our world. And so we're going to look at a couple things about that, and then later on in the show we're going to get into some creature reports from phantoms and monsters and some other stuff as well. So hopefully we'll have a great ride all the same. It's just you and me, you guys and me. This is the show. No co-pilot tonight. It's you guys. You guys are going to drive me through the show or drive me nuts or no, I'm just kidding. Yeah, I love you guys so much. And so keep the comments coming in the chat if you're in YouTube, and if you're on TFR, I'll do my best to check over there as well. I see there's a couple people over in TFR now. So if you have any comments or any suggestions or things that you want to bring to the table, there's also another way, and you can call in to the live show and be a part of the show with me. And to do that, you have to call 720-923-0500. And if you're on YouTube, you can see that on the screen. But if you're out there just listening to the sound of my voice, again, 720-923-0500. And in the second half hour, we'll open it up throughout the rest of the show for the calls. If you have a call, make it. But if you're in the chat on YouTube, the best way is to do an @ sign and then type Paranormal Portal, all one word, and that'll get my attention. Or it's not one word, I guess it's two words. Sorry, but it'll give me an orange box in the chat. That's a lot easier to see. So I'll do my best to keep my fingers on the pulse of the show tonight, and to look for your contributions throughout the course of the show. So as always, as we go forward, first off, I'd like to thank one of the sponsors of the Paranormal Portal. Currently the only sponsor, but it's really cool to have one. So this, of course, is, ladies and gentlemen, Cryptid Coin, and it's a perfect thing to talk about tonight as well, being that Cryptid Coin has its heart in cryptid research and investigation. It's a new cryptocurrency, or newer, I guess. It's been around a little bit now. But it has an opportunity to invest in crypto if that's what you're into. I'm not an investment advisor, or I don't have any investment advice at all, but I'm really tickled to have them be a part of the show, and it's really cool that they've stepped up and sponsored the Paranormal Portal. So I'm just hoping that you check them out. And if you would like to check them out, you can do so by going to cryptidcoin.io. Again, cryptidcoin.io, and Cryptid Coin is available on PancakeSwap if you're looking for manners in which to invest. And so find more information over on cryptidcoin.io, and special thank you to Cryptid Coin for sponsoring the Paranormal Portal. So let's see, I guess we got a lot to get to tonight, but as always, one of the best places to start is the news. So I got some news pulled up for you. A lot of it's archive news tonight, but nonetheless, it's usually a good time. So buckle up. We're going in. Ooh, coughed into the mic. All right, ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the Paranormal Portal News Desk, and I'm your anchor, Mr. Brent Thomas. You can just call me Brent. Tonight we got some news articles to get through, and I've curated a bunch of different things for your enjoyment, and hopefully they're all enjoyable. So let's check it out and see if my attempts pass muster, as it were. The first one up tonight is coming from unexplained-mysteries.com. And this one is a tree in Chile could be the oldest in the world. Now, I know, like, maybe this isn't the most paranormal of news, but I love trees. I really do. I don't know if I'm a tree hugger, but I'm a tree admirer. I love trees. I love being around trees. So I thought, well, this is interesting. Let's check it out. An enormous tree in the Chilean Andes is a contender for the oldest living tree on Earth at 5,400 years old. Wow. That's always amazing. And I know there's one in Africa that's several thousand years old too. And that is just blows me away. You know, you look at these old trees, and this is just me being completely editorial, but I always look at those old trees and think, I wonder if they could tell stories, what they would tell, what maybe have they seen. And I realize that might be an odd statement to make, but you know, they've been around for a long time, and it's just amazing to think what has changed throughout the course of their lives. But 5,400 years old is no joke. Jeez. It's time to imagine living for thousands of years, yet there are trees alive today that were around when the Egyptians built the Great Pyramid and when the builders of Stonehenge laid the first stone. The current record holder for the world's oldest tree is a Great Basin bristlecone pine in California known as Methuselah, which is 4,853 years old. However, researchers believe that they have found another candidate which could be even older. The tree, a gran abuelo found in the Chilean Andes, could be as much as 5,400 years old. As things stand, however, its exact age remains a matter of some controversy because it has yet to be definitively confirmed and the underlying data has not been peer-reviewed. There is still no doubt, though, that this ancient behemoth needs to be protected because it is still thousands of years old, even if it doesn't quite exceed the world record. According to climate and ecology scientist Stephen Barachevich, I don't know how to say that, Barichivich, Barachevich, it is currently suffering from the effects of climate change and a rather excessive number of visitors. It's in really poor condition because of tourism, he told Live Science, but yeah, that's the thing. The more you advertise it, the more people are going to want to see it. And ladies and gentlemen, I don't know, I'll get into this later. I hope I remember to, because I think this is a relevant point to the whole study of cryptids and Sasquatch specifically. But anyway, that's the oldest tree. Perhaps could be 5,400 years old. It's in the Chilean Andes. And I don't know, they only offer one little tiny picture of it. So there's not a lot to go on here for us, but here's to hoping. Maybe it's the oldest one. And if it is, that's a lot older than the other one. So older than Methuselah. All right, let's go to the next article on our roster of fun here in the Paranormal Portal News. And this one is starting the archive journey. That last one was about the only new article I had tonight for you guys. But this is an older one, and this is coming from 2013 from unexplained-mysteries.com. Great site. Please check it out. They do a wonderful job over there. Support what they're doing because, oftentimes these sites are getting by on their own blood, sweat, and tears and a few ads, and that's about it. So they need support. Keep them going. But unexplained-mysteries.com brings us world's largest ever Lego model is unveiled. Let's check this out. And what's with these baby pictures? Jesus, that is tiny. I'll tell you, if it's too small to see on your screen, it's basically like a life-size Lego replica of an X-Wing fighter from Star Wars. So, and it's not light at all. It says a 23-ton Lego model of a Star Wars X-Wing fighter has been unveiled at an event in New York. And again, this is from 2013, so it's not new news, but that's still huge. Egad, the massive project was revealed at Times Square and measured 44 feet across while requiring 1,335,200 Lego bricks to build. According to Lego, this means that it breaks the world record for the largest Lego model ever constructed. The previous record holder was a Lego robot built at the Mall of America, which used 2 million it says breaks, but I think it means bricks, less than the X-Wing. The model was built over the course of 17,336 man-hours by a team of 32 expert builders. What does it take to be an expert Lego builder? I'm just wondering, how do you fill out that application? Like, yeah, I've played with Legos my whole life. I think I'm an expert. I think I'm qualified. I don't know, but anyway, it's apparently a job. At the Lego model shop at the company's facility in Kladno, the Czech Republic, and it has been a wild and exciting project for us, and it's taken an international team of designers, engineers, structural consultants, model builders, and logistics personnel over a year to bring this model from conception to reality, said master builder Eric Varasegi. And I guess there's a bigger picture of it down here, the world's largest Lego model, life-size Star Wars. That is huge, and if you're on YouTube, you're seeing it being unveiled now. I've muted the sound, but that is extraordinarily huge. It really is very impressive that people get paid to put together Lego models in and of themselves is pretty fascinating. But there you go. The biggest Lego model is an X-Wing fighter, and I guess there's that. If you didn't know that before, and maybe since 2013 there's been bigger ones built, but that's still impressive as hell. So take it or leave it. It's on the Paranormal Portal News because it may not be absolutely paranormal, but that's just not real normal. So that kind of fits. All right, let's go to the next one. And this is from unexplained-mysteries.com as well. And as well, it's from, this is another old one, but my God, this one just jumped off the page at me. I'm like, oh my God, can you believe this? All right, from unexplained-mysteries.com. You're not going to believe this, guys, but get ready for this. Unexploded bomb found in kitchen cupboard. This is from April 26, 2013. I seem to remember us talking about this some other time, but maybe not. A man showing his family around his new home in Wales came across a World War II bomb in a cupboard. I just found it laying in the garden. A 24-year-old Henry Southall had been given his parents a tour of the property at Porthmadog when they came upon the unexploded device in the kitchen. Bomb disposal experts were soon on the scene and took it to a deserted beach nearby where it was discharged in an explosion that left a large crater in the sand that could be heard 2 miles away. I'm glad I found it when I did, said Southall. I wouldn't have wanted it to go off while I was in bed upstairs. The bomb disposal team told him that the device had contained 16 pounds of explosives. There you go. I don't know if that was included in the house or if that cost extra. I don't know, but that's absolutely terrifying. Wow. World War II bomb. And yeah, I think that the older those things are, the more unstable they are. And I could be absolutely wrong, but I think that that's the deal, that if those things, like old dynamite is incredibly dangerous because it just destabilizes over time and it can blow up at any moment. So very weird. I don't know. It's not the knickknack you want laying in your cupboards anyway. So that's pretty bizarre. It's just laying in the cupboard. Wow. That's a heck of a deal. All right, let's go to the next one. And this is the next one from unexplained-mysteries.com. This is another old one, but again, I thought this was really strange too. Sometimes, paparazzi, you can see like when Bjork beat up that reporter and stuff and I think Sean Penn was famous for going after photographers and certainly celebrities around the world have been dogged by photographers, and they seem to bring out the worst in people. But apparently it's not just celebrities that don't like photographers much, because in this story from unexplained-mysteries.com, man attacked and killed by beaver. In a bizarre incident, a man attempting to photograph a beaver ended up being killed by the creature. I don't know if it attacked him or it dropped a tree on him, but let's see what it says. The attack took place in Belarus, where 3 men were on a fishing trip at Lake Shestakov, stopped when they spotted an animal on the side of the road. Based on various reports, one of the men either got out to photograph the beaver or went to sit next to it to get his photograph taken. Oh, no. This is not a puppy, dude. What the hell? Not too pleased with what was happening, the beaver allegedly sunk its teeth into the man's thigh, severing a main artery, and despite his friend's best efforts, he ended up bleeding to death at the side of the road. While beavers generally don't pose much of a threat to humans, there have been incidents in which people have been attacked or chased by one. In December, a rabid beaver was reported to have chased 2 children in Virginia, while at that same week, an 83-year-old woman was attacked by one at Lake Barcroft. Yeah, they can chew through trees, so they're not going to have a lot of trouble with some denim jeans or something. That's horrible, though. That's a tough way to go. I don't know. It's just a freak accident, I guess. But, the takeaway is, if you see a wild animal, they're wild animals. And I don't know what kind of math you got to use on that one, but essentially they don't want to be petted. They don't want to be your buddy. They just want you to stay away. So this guy didn't get that memo, though. And I do feel bad because somebody actually died because they were, wanted to take a picture with a beaver. But that was one of the worst conceived plans I think I've heard in a long time. So there you have it. Beaver 1, man 0. So there's that. All right, let's go to the next one. And the next one up is, this one's kind of a bizarre one. And this is an old one again. So these are really old articles. I don't know about this one. This one was strange, but I thought, well, it's a unique story and it's definitely not normal. So it fits the criteria of the Paranormal Portal. And this story is, let me scroll up so I can actually read the title. Again, from unexplained-mysteries.com, Iranian scientist invents time machine. And this is from April 12, 2013. It says, Ali Razigi claims that he has developed what he calls the Aryayek time traveling machine. The 27-year-old is managing director of Iran's Center for Strategic Inventions, and while he's created more than 179 devices over the last decade, his latest creation is by far the most outrageous. My invention easily fits into the size of a personal computer case and can predict details of the next 5 to 8 years of the life of its users, he said. It will not take you into the future, but it will bring the future to you. Razigi foresees that the device will prove invaluable to world governments as they will be able to predict and take action to avoid future problems. Naturally, a government that could see 5 years into the future would be able to prepare itself for challenges that might destabilize it, he said. Unsurprisingly, Razigi's time machine has been met with almost universal skepticism, and to date, no demonstration or evidence has been provided to support the notion that the device is real. Yeah, that's a little hard to believe. But anyway, it's definitely unusual. Falls into our categories for sure. The next one up on the newscast is this one cracked me up a little bit because I remember hearing stories of like people going to Mexico and coming home with chihuahuas. They came home with little chihuahuas, and there were these happy people that found chihuahuas in Mexico and adopted them and brought them home. And of course, only to find out that they were like sewer rats. So there's that. And apparently that kind of shtick still happens. At least it did in 2013, where this article is from. And this is from unexplained-mysteries.com. Ferrets on steroids being sold as poodles. I don't know. You can't make this stuff up, right? So a bazaar in Argentina has been caught selling dogs that turned out to be not quite as expected. According to a recent report, a man from Catamarca purchased 2 toy poodle dogs at a discounted price and took them home, only to discover, following a visit to the vets, that the dogs were actually a species of rodent that had been pumped up on steroids. The animals had even been specially groomed to make their coats resemble the appearance of a poodle. Previously thought to be an urban myth, the sale of expensive dogs in less than reputable marketplaces has been on the rise, with sales of animals worth $1,000 for bargain prices of $75 or less being facilitated by the use of drugged rats and ferrets made up to look like dogs. There it is, drugged rats. Yep, there you have it. You just never know what you're going to get. Don't buy exotic pets on the street. First of all, don't buy designer dogs on the street either. That usually doesn't work out well. Just going to put that out there as a public service message. But you could come home with a rat or a ferret on steroids. You just don't know. They even cut the ferret's hair to look like a poodle. Oh my God. You can't make this stuff up, folks. All right, next up on the newscast is this gem. And this is, you've all heard the saying, when you see something you don't like, kill it with fire. I'm just going to go on the record and say that's probably not the best idea, as is evidenced by this report from unexplained-mysteries.com. Burning snake sets the house on fire. This is from March 26, 2013. A woman who tried to kill a snake by setting it on fire inadvertently managed to burn down her own house. The woman, the unnamed woman from Texas, had been cleaning her windows when she encountered a troublesome reptile. In an effort to get rid of it, she took some petrol and doused the snake before asking her son to come and set it on fire. The tables turned, however, when the serpent slithered into some nearby bushes, setting them alight as well, and the blaze promptly spread, engulfing both her and her neighbors' houses in flames. We were trying to kill a snake with fire, she said over the phone to the emergency operator. The fire department was promptly dispatched, but despite their best efforts, the house was almost completely obliterated by the blaze. The fate of the snake is currently unknown. Yeah. I'm betting the snake didn't fare much better, but don't kill it with fire. Unless it's going to bite you, don't kill it at all. Just scoot it away. Oh, that's terrible. Don't kill it with fire. That's the public service announcement from today's Paranormal Portal. And because chances are you might not be burning what you think you're going to be burning. But there you have it. Those are tonight's offerings on the Paranormal Portal News. I hope you enjoyed them, and we can get back to the regularly scheduled program here in just a sec as I get my windows all lined up. Let's get back to it. All right, folks, we are back at the main desk here. It looks exactly like the news desk, I know, but that's the kind of care we do in our production here. You just can't even tell. I did want to take a couple minutes and talk about what is going on in September. We've talked about it a bunch here, and many of you regulars are going to be like, yeah, we already heard about this. But for those of you that might be new to the show or just hearing my voice for maybe the first time, in September of the September 8th through the 11th in Vernal, Utah, Don and I will be attending. I'm gonna have to do this first. Hold on, I gotta shut down I gotta edit one of my windows because I don't have any guests tonight. So I gotta turn off a couple things here and show you this. This is where Don and I will be on September 8th through the 11th. Of this year, which is Phenomicon. It's happening in Vernal, Utah, and it's an exciting, huge event that takes place over several days, and you can find out a bunch more by going to phenomicon.net, Phenomicon, and then .net at the end, and you'll find this page, which we'll talk to you. It has a link for buying tickets. You can see the list of presenters here. There was an update. Apparently Bob Gimlin's not going to make it. I'm not sure what's going on exactly, but there's so many wonderful people going to be present here. April Slaughter, a paranormal investigator, James Vieira, the Giants guy from the History Channel, Stacy Brown, Bigfoot investigator, Dr. Jeff Meldrum, and of course the cast from Expedition Bigfoot, featuring Russell Accord, Ronnie LeBlanc, and I think Dr. Maria Mayer is going to be there too, but yeah, she's up here. They moved her picture up. Okay, got it. and so many other wonderful people are going to be there presenting and being a part of the events. So Don and I are also going to be there. So it'd be neat if you're not doing nothing in September. Head over to Vernal, Utah. And again, you can get tickets and find out more information about this event. But if you scroll down to the bottom, you can see the schedule of events that are going to be happening. And it's absolutely epic. They've got so much going on. So we're going to go to our first break, folks, because we're on the network. So don't go away for more of the Paranormal Portal coming up in just a couple of minutes. So stick around. Don't go anywhere. Lots more to come.
Now there's two ways to...
ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to the second half hour of the show. That flew by really quickly, which I guess is a good barometer for how the show's going. If it takes a long time to get to the break, we know it's like, oh man, this is kind of dragging. But every show on the Paranormal Portal seems to go really quickly. Hello, Drew. Good to see you. New listener or new name in the chat, I see. And he had a question in the chat. He said, Can I don't know, spirits known as ghosts influence electronic equipment? And I would say, yeah, absolutely. There's plenty of at least suggestive evidence that would imply that spirits can affect electronics and seem to do so really quite easily. And often, in fact, that's one of the most common things I think that happens in a lot of paranormal events. Is lights flickering, things turning on and off, etc. And if you're looking for some pretty interesting takes, check out Mindseed TV. I've been watching those lately. It's a channel that's been around for years, but they do they do all kinds of investigations and have some really very well done presentations. I don't know. I'm not there, so I can't tell you how credible it is or whatever, but at least it's entertaining to watch. And if the events that are happening are indeed legitimate, it's pretty fantastic if those are indeed true, what they're presenting on that show. But it's Mindseed TV. I think it's a really cool channel. Been checking them out, and I've been enjoying them quite a bit. So it has some great paranormal events that they show. There was one, I was talking about it last night. It was they entered the house and they were walking around, and apparently the video was requested by people because the original episode had a lot of filming edits and stuff, so it wasn't really clear if the events were happening quite as spontaneously as they were suggesting. But they did upload a non-cut video that was from one of the guy's cell phones that he was taking as they were walking through. And it's non-stop, non-edited, and the events really do seem to happen like that. And I'm talking like a kitchen table full of chairs just suddenly stacked up to the ceiling, like in the matter of a second or two. It's just like, what the hell? And then they put them down again, and the next time it happens, he uses the camera, he pans over to the kitchen, looks around, you can see the chairs at the table, and then he turns and is walking up the steps. And by the time he's at the third step, he hears something behind him, turns around, and all those chairs are now stacked at the bottom of the stairs, which is at least 20 feet away from where they were, and perfectly balanced and stacked. So if that is indeed legitimate, that's some pretty shocking evidence, or at least activity. I don't know, man. I don't know how they faked it if they did. It was really well done if they faked it, but it really does look legitimate. So check it out. And see if you can find the episode I'm talking about. I don't have the name of the episode exactly, but it was a newer one of their uploads, and it was really impressive. So check it out. It's I don't know, if you're looking for a decent paranormal show, and I'm always looking because I love ghost shows, and I love the Bigfoot shows and all of that stuff. Again, anytime you're watching a show, you have to understand that, these shows are the compilation of hours and hours and hours and hours of work. And so certainly people get upset with edits and stuff. Well, I don't know, because it edited then this and this. But if you're taking hours or days or even a week of information and compacting it into a 45-minute or an hour presentation, you have to edit. You have no other choice. Otherwise, people will have to sit there and watch, maybe 5 or 6 hours of nothing. These events, whether they're Bigfoot, whether they're paranormal, they don't happen on schedule. Sometimes they don't happen at all. And that's part of these investigations, is that sometimes you're sitting there for hours and nothing is happening. Absolutely nothing. So it's a tough call when people are complaining about editing and stuff, because how else are you going to compress all that information into a show? Well, you can't. And so I would just suggest those people that, like to pick on that, go out and do your own investigations. Sometimes there's this expectation that people feel that they're owed something. Like, you owe me paranormal stuff because, you have a paranormal show. And honestly, quite honestly, and the truth is that 90% of paranormal investigations or more are really pretty uninteresting. There's a lot of sitting around, a lot of waiting. A lot of paranormal activity doesn't happen regularly. It may only happen certain periods of the year, and you don't, it just depends on the site. So go out and check it out. I mean, it's a cool experience. I will tell you that. I've done some investigating and I enjoy it. I'd love to do more, but people pick on those shows an awful lot, and I think it's real easy to do from the comfort of your living room. But when you get out there and do it, you see that's a lot of work. It's a lot of efforts, a lot of time, and even going through all of that stuff afterwards is Herculean, because you may have hours and hours and hours of audio tape to roll through to try to find EVPs or other anomalies. You may have, hours and hours and hours of video footage to go through. And, if you have static cameras, did anything happen? Well, let's watch. And so those are huge, huge undertakings. So I just want to throw that out there because I see that often on social media. People just blast in these shows and it's kind of a double take. The people doing these shows are trying to make something interesting. They're trying to present their work. They're trying to present a phenomena to the rest of us, but they don't owe anybody anything. They're doing this because it's something they love. Yeah, of course, everybody wants to make a living, and nothing's wrong with that. I mean, the plumber doesn't come to your house and clean your or purge your toilet line because they love the work. They do it because it's their job and they deserve to get paid for it. So, I don't think that's asking too much on anything that people could make a living doing it. We do what we love, and we'd love to make a living at it. So, anyway, just my take. I'm kind of venting a little bit because I do get tired of that every time. Either people are just absolutely rude, or they're just vicious. Like, well, if you're owed something, go out there and get it. Go out and bring that information back for the rest of us. If you obviously have such a good handle on it, go out there, march through the mountains, look for Bigfoot, go through the areas and try to find a dog man. Get us a good picture. If we're owed that, then you should do it. So, just my 2 cents. But anyway. I think it's fascinating, and again, I have no vested interest with Mindseed TV. I mean, I don't know them, they don't know me, but I just have caught it, and I thought, wow, they do a nice job. So, and again, they've been around for years. It's not like a brand new show. So check them out, see what you think. Let me know. I'd love to hear your thoughts on it. All right, let's go. Got some paranormal stuff to get to here. The portal is wide open, and we're plunging into it. Okay. There's a couple of things I want to get to here. I think we're going to start with talking about trackways and stuff. There's a couple of articles I pulled up. One is an interview with Dr. Jeff Meldrum from, it's Deseret.com, DESERET.com. And it's an interview with Dr. Jeff Meldrum. And if you're not familiar with Jeff Meldrum, he's a fascinating guy. He's, I think he was originally pretty close friends with John Bindernagel, who is a biologist who was really on the board with Bigfoot investigating. And it's kind of neat because John Green and John Bindernagel were some of the first people of the scientific community to absolutely embrace the idea that there could be these creatures out there. And I think Jeff Meldrum is kind of carrying the torch now. I think Dr. Maria Mayer of Expedition Bigfoot is another great addition because a person named Amy Boo, if you haven't met her or heard of her, she's got Project Zoo Book, and she's been doing Bigfoot investigating, and she also has people on her team that are zoologists, biologists, and other scientists. And I think that's fascinating as well. And I know they've done some stuff with the Olympic Project and all over. And I think it's great when the scientific community is opening its mind to the possibility of this stuff. I got a couple of things in there. Whatever happened to that person named, we're not going to, I don't know. People come and go all the time, Drew. But let's see. Okay. Anyway, back to Dr. Meldrum. I think he's a fascinating guy, and I like the idea. I think he's a physical anthropologist dealing specifically with primates. And it's neat that he's been absolutely involved in not only investigating, but checking out a lot of tracks. People send their casts to him for him to check out, or at least send scans of them for him to check out. And he's found some really cool anomalies over the years, and things that would definitely remove the possibility of it being just somebody strapping wooden feet on their foot and stomping through mud and stuff like that. He's found some really incredible things on there. And he's not the only one. Many people have noticed this too, but one of the things is that he's actually found casts that contain dermal ridges. Now with primates, very much like us, we have fingerprints. These are dermal ridges and patterns. And primate dermal ridges are very similar in that they do have very distinct patterns of the way their skin covers their foot and stuff. And he's found tracks that have that. He's also found tracks that definitely demonstrate perhaps old injuries, things that would developmentally happen to a specific Bigfoot that give it a specific gait. And he's made some great statements about that these could not be fakes. If they're fakes, then the person faking them should be making millions in the artificial limb category of any hospital or whatever, where they're making artificial feet and things for people, because the biological continuity of it is just incredible. So I really like his work. I really admire what he's doing. I really respect the fact that he is a person of academia and he's out there putting his name on it. So it really does push it ahead. I think at least an established possibility of more credibility. But the article, again, is from Deseret.com, and it's from, when is this from? 2022. It's actually June 7th, it looks like, of this year. So it's a brand new article, and it's called Sasquatching. One Latter-day Saint professor's search for Sasquatch. And this was written by Meg Walter. And it's a brand new article from June 7th, and I think it's pretty fascinating. It says, I've always been Sasquatch curious. I try to err on the side of believing stories of unexplained sightings and bumps in the night, and as far as Bigfoot is concerned, if narwhals are real and giant squid, why not a few big hairy creatures wandering the woods of the Pacific Northwest? They're not just in the Pacific Northwest. I think that's the canned idea that a lot of people have, that, hey, there's Bigfoot in, Washington and Oregon and Northern California and into Canada and up into Alaska. But there are reports everywhere of these things. In the United States, the only state that doesn't have reports is Hawaii. Hawaii is the only one that doesn't have any reports that I know of. They have other things, like Menehune and all kinds of other creatures that may very well be there, but no Bigfoot that I know of. So, but I can't prove their existence, but I like living in a Sasquatch positive paradigm. All right. Some of the literary works out there. So when the opportunity to interview one of the foremost Sasquatch researchers presented itself, I hopped in the car and drove 3 hours to Pocatello to meet Professor Jeffrey Meldrum in Idaho State University. When I knocked on the office door, I expected an eccentric Dr. Emmett Brown type. Back to the future. Instead, I found a demure, soft-spoken man standing in nondescript utilitarian lab, a bona fide scientist. Meldrum ended up being one of the most serious academic people I've ever had the pleasure of meeting. He spent 2 hours using a lot of words I later had to Google to explain the scientific research supporting the existence of Bigfoot, an existence on which I am now sold. Hey, nice. Made a believer out of her. That's a good thing. Meldrum's reluctant fascination with Bigfoot began in the 5th grade. His classmates were abuzz over footage captured by Roger Patterson and Bob Gimlin in Northern California. Patterson and Gimlin filmed a large fur-covered ape-like creature, who you may know her as Patty, standing on 2 legs. Meldrum convinced his dad to take him to Spokane Coliseum, where Patterson was presenting his documentary and answering questions from the audience. Meldrum left the screening with a copy of Patterson's book, Do Abominable Snowmen of America Really Exist? The next year, Meldrum and his 6th grade peers were studying primates. His long-suffering teacher asked the class to list some examples of primates. Oh, man, he He's 11 years old. He's already carrying the torch. And a sassy 11-year-old suggested Bigfoot. Instead of dismissing the comment, she engaged with the students and suggested someone write a report on the creature. Meldrum's hand shot up immediately, and he marched to the library to start the research that would eventually transform his career. Today, Meldrum is a professor of anatomy and anthropology at Idaho State University. According to his biographical sketch, his research encompasses questions of vertebrate evolutionary morphology, generally primate, locomotor adaptations, and more particularly, the emergence of modern human bipedalism. Like I said, I did a lot of Googling. Yeah, no kidding. That's quite a list. Meldrum honed his research skills as he received a bachelor's degree in zoology from Brigham Young University, followed by a master's in zoology and then a doctorate in anatomical science from State University of New York. He topped it off with a postdoctoral visiting assistant professor post at Duke University Medical Center, a teaching position at Northwestern University Medical Center in Chicago, and finally, he landed in Idaho State University, just close enough to the Pacific Northwest to investigate a subject area where other scholars fear to tread. It is, you gotta admit, it's pretty brave for anybody with that kind of a pedigree to jump into this stuff, because in many people's eyes, it's absolutely ridiculous. It's a career suicide. And I did catch an interview with him once, and they said, how did you finally make the plunge and do this? He said, well, I got tenure. and that really is true, that if a professor receives tenure, it's really hard to just get rid of them. All right, so it says, during his study of paleoprimatology, he came across a few obscure references to giant South American monkeys. He contacted Richard Greenwald, the director of International Cryptozoology Society, yes, that's a real thing, to find out more. Greenwald invited him to California to evaluate some video footage of a large ape-like creature. I undertook that project as an exercise in exposing the zipper, Meldrum says. He was convinced a costume man in an ape suit was traipsing through the woods, fooling all eager believers. But the more I dug into it, the more intriguing it became. A friend Meldrum made in the Sasquatch searching circuit, once again a real thing, invited him to southeast Washington. I was there. It was there he saw Sasquatch footprints for the first time. His friend led him to a dirt road along the side of which were impeccable footprints, too large to be human and too human to be animal. I was flabbergasted, he says. Given his expertise, he's seen a good number of fossilized footprints and written extensive papers on various footprints from around the globe. His specific experience is matched only by a dozen or so other academics in the entire world, and these Sasquatch footprints looked as real as any he'd ever seen. The prints were what Meldrum calls animated tracks with pressure ridges, tension cracks, and proof of movement of the toes. Meldrum wondered how his friend had managed to fake such convincing footprints. He said, I couldn't find the zipper, he says. He photographed and cast the prints, and then when he ultimately gave up trying to find the zipper, decided a Sasquatch had indeed walked along the road the night before. Meldrum tells me the hair on his arm stands up every time he tells the story. Yeah, I guess it's like, if you can't find the zipper, then you got to acknowledge that it's a real phenomena. At that moment in his career, Meldrum had a choice to make. He'd watched one of his predecessors, Grover Krantz, who had pursued the search for Sasquatch, received ridicule and harassment. Krantz's promotion to full professor was delayed by decades. As Meldrum explains it, there was actually this little moment where this angel sits on my shoulder and says, do you really want to go down this path? And the devil on the other shoulder says, how could you not? Does that mean he listened to the devil? I don't know. Sounds like he made the choice, though, obviously. Meldrum now has over 300 Sasquatch footprint casts in his Pocatello lab, or more specifically, footprint casts from Sasquatch, Yeti, and other relic hominoids. When I look perplexed by the mention of multiple species of ape-like giants, Meldrum reaches for an activity book made for children, which unfortunately is probably entirely appropriate for my intellectual understanding of this subject matter. Well, I like this person that wrote this. Very well done. He points to a comparative chart with corresponding footprints. There's Sasquatch, Yeti, Neanderthal, and the orang pendek, small furry creatures said to inhabit the mountains of Indonesia. I think Sumatra, but anyway, in Indonesia. Meldrum's focus on the Sasquatch found in North America. He believes they could live in areas where there is sufficient cover and habitat to support them. These happen to be areas where black bears live, not only in the Pacific Northwest, but also in the Intermountain West, down in Utah, Idaho, and the Rocky Mountains. But he also believes they could be in the mountain ranges that surround the Colorado Plateau, the boreal forests in Canada, the Great Lakes region down through Appalachia. Credible Sasquatch sightings, he tells me, have been reported from all of these areas. When he says credible, Meldrum means reports made under good conditions or by credible witnesses, often corroborated with footprints, hair, scat, or other signs of large animals. According to Meldrum, there have been a couple thousand credible reports. Sightings are rare, he explained, because Sasquatches are few in number, and he estimates that there is one Sasquatch for every 100 black bears. Sasquatches are also solitary creatures, and Meldrum believes a single male inhabits and defends about 1,000 square miles. And that's an interesting take, because when you think of the caloric needs of like a grizzly, they have a huge range that they live in, and where they travel throughout this range throughout the year before ultimately hibernating. But it's probably not far off from that, really, when you consider it. Now, I think that also lends to how often they're seen or not seen, and it's because I think for the most part they don't really live in one place. I mean, it's possible that there are some that do, but I think these family groups probably move through a range. And I don't mean that they're migrating, like that they actually go from north to south. But, 1,000 square miles is, that's, what is that, 100 by 100 miles. So that seems reasonable, really, that there could be that much of a range for them. I do believe that they follow, like they really do know their territory. They know where the berries are coming in season and where the animals usually go during different times of the year and stuff. I think that they are very tuned into all of that, much like our predecessors used to be as well. And probably still are. I mean, we know where the animals go during the winter, where they go during the summer, and in between. But I asked him what he believes is the most credible Sasquatch sighting, and he tells me about his friend, Julie Davis. She hiked the entire Continental Divide Trail through Colorado, accompanied only by her pet goats and dogs. While she was bushwhacking to reach a remote lake, her dog hackles raised, eyeing the tree line. She was prepared to encounter bears, but saw nothing. Thinking little of it, Davis set up camp. Later, the dogs began reacting to something, and again, she assumed a bear was nearby. She scrambled to grab her bear spray and get the dogs safely in the tent. Crawling out from under the rainfly, Davis found her goats peering over the tarp. Following their line of sight, she saw just 15 feet away an 8.5-foot tall Sasquatch. Oof. She described the Sasquatch's appearance to Meldrum as a big, hairy linebacker with bulging muscles. Davis, whose account was first published in the Denver Post in 2003, said the Sasquatch looked at her, then at the goats, and then back at her. Like, hey, you going to eat all those? It's like the kid in the lunch area that's walking around seeing if everybody's going to eat their pudding. Like, hey, you going to eat that? Then they had a sort of subliminal connection, and the Sasquatch demeanor softened. Then a second, smaller Sasquatch peeked out from behind the first. The two Sasquatches turned and walked away, the larger in front of the smaller, with the smaller behind. They glided gracefully toward the tree line, and just before they were out of sight, the larger Sasquatch turned, cocked his head back, and let out a high-pitched whistle. Meldrum himself has only had hints of sightings. The closest he's come was in Alberta, Canada, when he was using night vision binoculars and very low ambient light. Something approached the camp, breaking brush and making the characteristic whistling vocalizations along the way. Although it was difficult to see exact detail through this grainy night vision lens, Meldrum could make out large swinging arms attached to a large body. Smooth. Oh, we're hitting the break. All right, we'll be right back and we'll continue this, folks. We'll get through the rest of this article. When we come back, don't go away. More of the portal coming up in just a couple minutes.
Play their games. Everybody loves to place their bets. They don't understand the price I paid. They don't care to comprehend. Trace their lines upon my body, ripping scars across my heart. Raging anger boils inside me as their lies keep falling apart. With my silence, I am not a stupid boy. No more breaking me with kindness, just you dance upon my joy. Leading me with empty promise, you're just another fucking mess. Taking off the slice of my sanity, just make sure that you're well fed.
Carol Ann is not like those she's with. They're attracted to the one thing about her that is different from themselves. Her life force. It is very strong. It gives off its own illumination. It is a light that implies life and memory of love and home and earthly pleasures. Something they desperately desire, but can't have anymore. Right now, she's the closest thing to that.
Poltergeists are usually associated with an individual. Hauntings seem to be connected with an area. A house, usually.
Poltergeist disturbances are fairly short duration, perhaps a couple of months. Hauntings can go on for years.
Man, that break came fast. Came fast and hard, folks, but we're back at it here on the Paranormal Portal. As always, thank you all for being here and being a part of the journey. I'm going to do some shout-outs quick because I see you guys are here, and what better way to honor that than say, hey, I see you here. And in TFR, it's Bam, Gemini, and Fancy Guest are over there. How you doing, Bam? Good to see you. Was looking elsewhere while listening. Sure, likely excuse, Bam. No, that's fine. And over in YouTube's, what do we got here? Who's here? Aggravated Progressive is here. Android Purity is here. Bernaise Sauce is here. Love your sauce, by the way. Fantastic stuff. Drew is here. And Drew, is that a new name? Did you used to have a different name? I'm sorry, I don't know. But you mentioned some historical things, so I figure you must have been here before. Eric is here. Purple Hobbit. Jasmine Winter Productions. Good to see you. Thanks for coming in. Jessica Mink is here. Maggie M10. Natalie is here from the UK. Good to see you, Natalie. Ninja Dave. How you doing, Ninja Dave? Rachel gets it right. Ron the Sage. Ruger Ridge. The Megaphone Man, Mr. Naysay. How you doing, Naysay? How you all doing? The Unknown is here, as well as Wonder Woman, and somebody else just popped in. Who just did that? Oh, Batman. B-A-T-T, man. Oh, nice to see you. That's a new name. Good to see you, Batman. This is Batman. I thought I was Batman. Think about it. You never seen us together. No. Good to see you. Nice to have Batman in the house. If I missed anybody else, I don't see any other names there, so. But good to see you all. Fantastic. As before the break, we were jumped by the break. It just snuck up and took my lunch money. But we were reading an article from dealing with Dr. Jeffrey Meldrum, and it's coming from Deseret, D-E-S-E-R-E-T. And I guess it's Deseret News is the site, and Deseret.com. It's a really well done article and a really great interview with Dr. Jeffrey Meldrum, of course, who is very well known for his work in examining Bigfoot casts that are done in the field, as well as finding some himself. And we were just talking about his own personal experience. Oh, used to be a Orochimaru. All right, there you are. I do. I recognize that. Thanks, Drew. Orochimaru. I got you. But good to see you again. Thanks for coming back, brother. Good to see you. So in this part of the article where we are now, he was just talking about his own sighting or kind of sighting, and I'll reread that paragraph because I think it's really actually more than just a hint of a sighting. I think he actually saw something. Sounds pretty amazing. But again, this is the Deseret News Sasquatch Watching, or they called it Sask Watching, S-A-S-Q dash watching. So that's pretty clever play on words. And I'll tell you the article's author after we finish it up, but I don't want to scroll and lose my spot here because it's a pretty long article. But it says Meldrum has only had hints of sightings. The closest he's come was in Alberta, Canada, when he was using night vision binoculars in a very low ambient light. Something approached the camp, breaking brush and making the characteristic whistling vocalizations along the way. Although it was difficult to see exact detail through the grainy night vision lens, Meldrum could make out large swinging arms attached to a large body, smoothly stomping through the area. The creature walked off into the forest where Meldrum and his team later found 13-inch footprints. The Sasquatch had also taken the bait the team had set out the day before, apples impaled on a tree branch, now gone with giant footprints leading up to and away from the tree. Now, I think this actual experience that he had, I think he was up in Alberta with, who was he with? I believe he was with Todd Standing. I think he was up there in that. And before, if you're a Bigfoot enthusiast, if you hear the name Todd Standing, a lot of people are just like, oh, that guy. Well, I think Todd Standing, I don't know that I can stand behind everything he's done, but I think he's done some pretty cool things and really put a lot of energy into the subject. And I think it maybe not fair to attack him just based on some differing opinions out there, but I don't know the guy. Never talked to him. I have approached him for being on the show, and it sounded like he's willing, which would be wonderful. I'd like to talk to him, and because I mean, the guy's been doing this for years and years and years, and I think he sounds like a really decent guy. Although I know that some of his work has been highly questioned, and maybe rightfully so. I don't know, but I think sounds like a really interesting guy, and has been at this for a long time. So it'd be neat to talk to him. But so far he hasn't made a schedule with me, so don't know when that's going to happen. But anyway, that's where that happened, I think. So is Sasquatch human or animal? I ask, hoping to hear some weird, maybe slightly upsetting stories in response. Ooh, I think I'm going to disconnect the network because it's doing this hissing thing, and I got to fix that. No, maybe it's done now. Nope, there it is again. Let me disconnect the network quick, folks, and we'll reconnect it. And then hopefully everything will be fantastic. Hold on a sec. All right, let me do this. Remove. Okay, I'm going to re-add the network so we can get some better sound in here. Let's add. All right, there we go. Oh, I forgot to do one thing. Okay. All right, now we're back on the network as well. Okay, sorry those of you on TFR. I just had to clear that hissing sound that was coming up from the connection. So we are back at it here, and we're going to talk more about this article now. So is Sasquatch human or animal? I ask, hoping to hear some weird, maybe slightly unsettling stories in response. Meldrum doesn't disappoint. He tells me about the Almasti, a creature that's said to inhabit the Altai Mountains in western Mongolia. They're rumored to wear clothing and trade with townspeople. In other words, more human than ape. Reports of the Sasquatch and Yeti, however, feel more akin to early sightings of the lowland gorilla. He says, a creature not officially discovered until the 1900s. But then there are some strange anecdotes that don't quite align with either classification, like a story from World War II about a Russian surgeon called in to examine a prisoner captured during the war. The soldiers assumed their prisoner had been surgically altered. He was covered in hair, had a heavy brow and low-slung head with barrel chest. He was presumed mute as he had not muttered a word. When the surgeon saw him, he proclaimed he was, in fact, not human and should be released into the wild. Meldrum reminds me that some of our oldest Western literary traditions featured half-man and half-creature protagonists, perhaps suggesting the idea of some kind of missing link. Think Beowulf or Spider-Man. I don't know how Spider-Man slides into there, but anyway, I guess he's half human, half spider is where she's going with that. But anyway, finally, because I just can't wait any longer, I ask the obvious question. Is Cain from the Bible Bigfoot? If anyone is qualified to verify or debunk this lore, and this Latter-day Saint expert and academic who spent the last 30 years researching Sasquatch, Meldrum laughs. The myth, as he explains it, tells the tale of a Latter-day Saint apostle, David W. Patton, walking alongside Bigfoot for 45 minutes. Given the rate a human walks, he says, and the rate a Sasquatch walks in the reported sightings, the chances of Patton keeping up with the creature for so long is very unlikely. Plus, the published story was a secondhand account told 50 years after the alleged incident. I'm not sure how we got to there from Cain, but anyway. So no, he says Bigfoot is probably not Cain, cursed to walk the earth for eternity. The Cain question is not the only quandary Meldrum gets from his fellow Latter-day Saints and other Christians. He said he gets pushbacks from some who think the existence of Sasquatch undermines their faith, to which Meldrum asks, do you feel threatened by a gorilla? That's a great question, because I do think if it's a biological being, what's the difference? He adds it's a biological species, not some paranormal phenomena, which is bad news for me, a weirdo who roots for confirmation of paranormal phenomena, but perhaps good news for the more serious Sasquatch believers among us. He also gets pushback from fellow academics, as the angel on his shoulder so many years ago predicted he would. Skeptics say, the science starts when you have a body. Meldrum wholly disagrees. The science starts when you have a question, he contends. Ooh, very profound. Well said. The science is the process of discovery, not the result of discovery. Show me an atom. Show me a string. Show me a black hole, he argues, explaining that so much of science is the study of phenomena for which there is no body. That's a great angle. True. It's an ongoing process, and we're at the point in that path to discover that that has been followed by many others before us. See, there it is. That's a great way to approach it. It doesn't require a body. That's kind of after the science. Then it's just biology. But if you don't have the body, then the science is what needs to be a process in order to discover it. And I think that's what a lot of researchers are using. The people out there using their own resources, their own blood, sweat, and tears to validate this phenomena. They're using science. They're applying techniques and traditions from a lot of different places and manners of doing it. And they're out there doing it. So really, the researchers are doing the science. Not all researchers are very scientific, but some of them are. Some of them are very, very regimented and trying to apply scientific practice and methodology to their investigations. Sorry, I had to cough. All right, so Meldrum leads me to his adjacent lab, littered with Sasquatch paraphernalia. There's a cutout of Patty, the ape-like creature filmed in the Northern California, on the far wall, looking menacingly over her shoulder. He shows me a few footprint casts, pointing out the ridges and pressure points and the varying toe positions. Then he pulls out a giant circular cast with a raised center and two craters on either side. This is the one, I think, where the Sasquatch was laying on its side, and they casted basically half the body, or part of the pressure where the body was laying in the mud. I look at him confused and ask, giant hooves? Meldrum giggles and said, nope, Sasquatch posterior. Oh, maybe that's not the same one. It's exactly the kind of thing I had hoped to see when I made the cross-state journey to his office. It was also the first time in our 2 hours together when I felt I could meet Meldrum on his intellectual level, and perhaps he was willing to stoop to mine. In the end, this serious and very academic man made me more of a believer than any eccentric ever could. Very, very well done article. And I think that's a brilliant takeaway as his response to the body thing. I think that's absolutely perfect. And again, this was written by, I'm going to give you the name by Meg Walter. Meg Walter. And she did a brilliant job. Really, really well done. Great interview. Great points were raised. I think it's phenomenal. Phenomenal article. I'll put a link to this if you want to read it for yourself or use it for whatever reasons. I'll put a link in both of the chats of this article so you can check it out. Excuse me. And maybe post it on your social media. Or you could just post the entire show on your social media. I'm just saying. You could do it. No pressure, of course. But I think that these are great points that he raised. And I really love that, the sciences before the body. And that's a great point. Like, it's easy for people to dismiss it. Like, well, we don't have a body. We don't even know they're out there. Well, again, he brought up great points, like a black hole. We didn't know they were out there. We had theories, but they've since pretty effectively been proven by the technology that adapted to the point where we could see them. And even atoms. Show me an atom. That was a great point. Yeah, it doesn't have to be a body, and I really don't think that the body is probably the way we should do it. Now, what I was talking about earlier when we were reading the story about the tree, and how people are so fascinated to go see this old tree, and it's basically causing problems. Well, this is a tree. What do you think is going to happen when and if the Sasquatch is ever proven? And I see it as possibly the ending of the species, because I think that the amount of people that will need to see it for themselves or want to see it for themselves will be astronomical, and it'll overwhelm parks, areas where they're located or believed to be located. It will just, and people are clumsy. A lot of people are they're pretty messy. They're pretty destructive. Maybe not even intentionally, just by being there can be destructive. And so what would that do? We don't know what kind of population of these things are out there. We just don't know. We have no idea. But if there is a smaller population of these things existing wild, and people start pressing into these wild places to go see one for themselves, because it's going to be the next big attraction. It's like the modern version of a Jurassic Park. Like, hey, let's go see the bipedal, hominid. That would be a lot of fun. Come on, kids. And so they start traipsing out in the wild places, and I think it would very possibly, if this is a small and fragile population, it could push them into extinction, because that's the part that really worries me about the search for Sasquatch. Because I do think they're out there. I really, really do. I really have no question in my mind that these things are a part of our world. I think that that's enough, though, for me. That's enough. I don't need to traipse out there and bring the kids and cameras and picnics and go try to find one. And I think that's very irresponsible. And the other takeaway from that is it could push them from being a very benign and peaceful presence into a very aggressive and get a lot of people hurt kind of presence. There's the other part of it, is that they're fine, basically just avoiding the few people that do enter the woods. But if suddenly there's thousands of people entering the woods, where do they get to go to live? How do they survive? And so if they're pushed with their backs against a wall, you never corner a wild animal. And I can't imagine, I'm not saying that a Sasquatch is a wild animal, but it's a big being that's probably is best served being left alone. So I don't know, just some thoughts. Again, come to your own conclusions. But for me, it's okay that there's people out there looking for them. I think it's fascinating and interesting, and some great evidence has been brought forward. But for me, that's enough. I really kind of feel like I really hope they're not really substantially discovered just for that reason, because I think we could really destroy. We have a tendency to destroy what we love anyway. So, and this would be a devastating thing of pushing this last of these that may be out there into absolute extinction. Maggie says, after living through the bushfire in Australia in 2020, I can't help but wonder what happened to the Yowies. Well, apparently they're doing just fine. According to Dean Harrison and AYR, Australian Yowie Research, they're doing just fine. They figure they probably just migrated around and were able to avoid it, or get out of the way of the danger. I'm sure they were displaced, but there's apparently, if I remember correctly, in a conversation I had with maybe one of the AYR, I don't remember, when they were on the show, I think, or Dean when he was on the show. It sounds like they're probably starting to filter back into some of those areas. And so that's great. But you're right. That was a huge event that probably, and who knows what it did to the population numbers of the Yowie, which is, for those of you that may not know, it's the Australian version of Bigfoot. It's called a Yowie. So, yeah, apparently they're okay. They're still out there. Thanks, Brent. Oh, absolutely. Let's see. Oh, all right. Trying to make sense of the chat there. Hey, Naysay. All right. So that was that article. I hope you guys enjoyed it. I got another one having to do with Bigfoot casts, and this one is written by Lauren Coleman and looks to be a pretty good one as well. Was this it? Bigfoot reel. No. Where am I? What am I on? Yeah, this one is it. Okay, so I can close this one. I hope you guys check it out and enjoy it. I think actually I'm going to leave it open because I'm going to put the link to that in the description as well. Great article. Very well done. The next one is an article by Lauren Coleman from 2013. And just for the record, he did like a 6-part article about Bigfoot and stuff. And this, I think, is part number 3, as I recall. But let me blow this up a little bit. It's not quite as big. Well, I guess it is. Yeah, I did blow it up already. All right, this one is from CryptoZoo News. CryptoZooNews.com, and looks like he's talking from about something in 1960. But anyway, when a cryptic Bigfoot cast opens a can of worms. Kind of dealing with casts, and I like this because we really haven't talked about casting a lot, and foot cast other than them being something that is used to validate the subject. But I like diving into some of these articles a little more, talking about the castings and such. But this was written by Lauren Coleman in 2013. Sometimes when you start down the path of intensively analyzing a Sasquatch Bigfoot cast, the examination can open a can of worms. Opening a can of worms is an English language idiom, meaning that there is a troublesome situation involving an issue whose resolution is contentious. Often simple and sometimes with surprise consequences. How could we expect anything less than involved in Bigfootery? I like the Bigfootery. In the first installment of the series, when Southern Bigfoot casts are really Western, a cast displayed in Fouke, Arkansas, which confusingly appeared in a reality television program as if it was from a track of a Boggy Creek creature, was discussed. Well, that doesn't surprise me. And there's the Monster Mart Fouke, Arkansas cast. And here I am in 2002 holding this enigmatic cast. And it says plaster cast of a Bigfoot print, one of 300 pound, imprinted in what? Rust or just on Mountain Road in the High Cascades. Okay, so as I mentioned in the earlier essay in 2012, I took photographs of this cast and its label denoting its origin. The cast was copied from one taken of 300 found in the High Cascades in December 1990, and please note 300 dated December 1990. Cliff Barrickman emailed me this week. The cast is the cast that is attributed to Peter Byrne. The wooden plaque on the back of this cast replica, made by Larry Lund. Lund is as the latex mold of the original, so copies from him are first generation, noted Cliff Barrickman. The cast has been widely disseminated not directly by Peter Byrne, but via his friend Larry Lund. Byrne has been able to supply little information, but at one time he said this was Bluff Creek 1960, as noted on the cast copy, and others have obtained via Ray Crow, Larry Lund. Oh, okay. And it says, as can be seen from the notion on the back of the Bluff Creek 1960 cast, the marks were done by the same individual who wrote Bend, Oregon, 1971. Yeah, that's the same penmanship. Yep. Barrickman writes, I suppose it supposedly was cast in 1960, but the story is doubtful. But you can read about my doubts here. This cast was made in 1960 by Peter Byrne. He told me at his home that he only had found 2 nice prints over the years and cast one of them. This one was in several inches of water. And he then showed me a photograph of the footprint and informed me that the latex mold of the cast had been given to Larry Lund of Vancouver, Washington as a gift. I later obtained a copy of the cast from Lund, and based on the shape of the footprint in the ground, it is clear from photographs that the latex mold given to Lund is not from the print that Byrne photographed in 1960. I inquired to Lund about the discrepancy, and he was kind enough to ask Byrne about the issue, and he seemed as puzzled as we were. So, and I should be noted that Cliff Barrickman is actually a very involved in the Bigfoot trackways and casting, and he also has the Bigfoot Museum in Boring, Oregon, and it's fascinating. I'd love to visit there. It's actually probably not as far away as I think it is, and I could drive over there sometime. But he is very, very knowledgeable on the tracks and castings and such, and has been involved in casting several trackways of even hundreds of prints or more. And I think he really knows his stuff, and he does work very closely with Dr. Meldrum. But we got to go to the break again, man. I'm losing the breaks all the time here. But anyway, we'll be right back. Don't go away for more of the Paranormal Portal. gentlemen, welcome once again to the Paranormal Portal. And as always, I'm losing my place here all the time. Wow. These breaks have snuck up on me twice now, and that's happens, I guess, when I'm, neck deep in an article. But we're going through an article right now by Lauren Coleman. It's from cryptozoonews.com, and it has to do with some conundrum around a cast and its source. And I think I was thinking it was something else when I picked it. I thought we were going to discuss casts, but this is a specific cast and some controversy about its origins. And, I don't know. It's kind of interesting, I guess. I don't know. What do you guys think? I think, actually, to be honest with you, I think I'm going to skip the rest of it. I'll put a link to it if any of you want to read more. It's interesting, but I think it would be worth reading the other articles that surround it. There are apparently six articles that he's penned, and that have to do with the same topic. And I'll put it up on screen here so you guys can see. But here's the Bigfoot cast analysis series, and it's part 1, when Southern Bigfoot casts are really Western. When part 2 is when Western Bigfoot casts are just older Western casts. Part 3, when a cryptic Bigfoot cast opens a can of worms. And part 4 is cleanse the Bigfoot database, get out the hourglass casts. And part 5, fake footprints fill Bigfoot books. So it sounds like a really interesting chain of articles that I think probably tell a pretty elaborate story. And we just got into a little bit of it here. I guess that, that's another takeaway, is that oftentimes when someone presents a cast, we just take it at face value. It's like, oh, that's a cast that happened where they say it happened, when they say it happened. And I think realistically, we don't know. And I don't think that anything malicious was going on here, but I think this cast was just misrepresented, and maybe it became confused with another or something. I don't know. Again, I haven't read the whole series of them, but I'll put the link in the chats. And so both chats have it. And I think it would be really interesting to read all of the series here to figure out what's going on. And I think that's, I don't know, I guess part of the problem that could erupt, and maybe this is a demonstration of it erupting in the Bigfoot world, is that, we take things at face value, and maybe that there isn't any central authority on any of this. Everybody's their own authority. And there's no oversight, in the grand manner of speaking. I mean, I guess it would probably be an act of God just to create an authority of some sort, because there's so many egos involved in all of this, and that's the tough spot, because everyone's going to want to be on that authority. And maybe it's more of a representative body than anything, and where things are discussed. But there's, we don't know. And there's not a lot of strict criteria for this kind of evidence and documentation and et cetera, et cetera. So we get everything on the spectrum. And again, that's not a dig. It's because this kind of research is being done by lay people, you and me, people like you and me. Some of you listening right now, I know are active researchers, and you're doing the best you can. But, there isn't a lot of criteria out there. So maybe it would behoove the community probably to develop some kind of at least established practices, at least standard procedures that would be based on the scientific model as much as we can. And even including data collection, how do you have the data collected? Who's collecting it? What procedures are they using? Is there a repository for it? And I know the BFRO is one repository for claims and stuff, but there's also other sites out there that are also taking reports, and that maybe there's needs to be one site where all this stuff goes, just as a direct reference that's maybe managed by a lot of people and a lot of groups. But interesting article nonetheless. So what I do want to go is go to a Bigfoot report, a BFRO reports that was from 2022. It's a Class A that was from actually last month, May 30th, in the state of New York, Essex County. And investigator MM notes, the witness cannot precisely pinpoint the spot along the road where the figure was standing, but it is close to this spot, give or take 100 feet. And then they give the coordinates. Nearest town is Keysville, New York. And Auger Lake Road is the nearest road. Observed 3:20 in the afternoon this date, driving east on Dugway Road in Chesterfield, New York, Essex County, sunny weather, road is shady in spots. Observed a tall and black Sasquatch standing on the left side of the road next to a large white pine, possibly 300 feet ahead of my car. Said to myself, what the hell? It was gone down the hill. I stopped, got out, and searched for prints, or maybe catch a smell, found nothing, smelled nothing. Clocked mileage to the next road intersection with the Auger Lake Road to be 1+ mile. Went back and scoured around a little more, but did not find anything I can report. Also noticed the creature bolted so fast downslope towards the Ausable River through heavy woods, sighting only lasted a few seconds. Other witnesses, none. But other stories, not here, but have followed the reports of Port Henry, Ticonderoga area some years ago. 3:20 p.m. paved road. So it's a roadside sighting. Again, I really think that probably the next really incredible evidence is going to come from somebody's dash cam. And maybe people already have these kind of things collected on dash cams out there already, but I think dash cams are going to bring us a whole host of possibilities as far as capturing reports and capturing evidence, because for whatever reason, and God only knows why, but the Sasquatch loved to hang out and cross roads before cars. Now, again, and I've said this many times, I know that I really believe these are smart creatures. So they have to be doing it intentionally. Like, hey, watch this. And they wander out across the road, look at the car, and then keep walking. And they just don't seem bothered by the fact that there's, a 2,000-pound piece of metal hurtling down the road. They don't seem concerned at all. And I find that absolutely breathtakingly inconsistent with what I think their behaviors are. So I don't understand the logic. Many people have surmised that perhaps these are the more juvenile ones that are just dorking around and have some kind of game about it, like counting coup, that kind of thing. And perhaps that is. Because they can hear a car coming forever. I lived out in the country, and I'm telling you, I could hear a car coming from over a mile away and coming down the road, just the road on the, and it was a paved road, but you can just hear the sound of tires on roads. There's, not to mention that the car itself sometimes can be loud, but it's not like they didn't know it was coming. They know it's coming for a long time, probably a lot further away than we're able to hear. And yet they still choose that point to shoot across the road. Why? Doesn't seem to make sense to a species that has basically built its existence on avoiding us. It's like flying the Bigfoot flag, like, yep, I'm here. I don't know. Very strange, but make of it what you will. That's all I'm going to say. I think it's very interesting. It's peculiar, but it has to be intentional. So I think dash cams are going to be the way that some really compelling new evidence will come forward. And so if you got an extra, handful of money, go get a dash cam and drive around some country roads for a while. Again, these sightings are very rare as well. They don't happen all the time, but it's surprisingly the amount of times it does happen is way more than I would have thought. Way more. So what are they doing? Seems like they're getting a rise out of people. That might be a good pastime. God knows they seem to be interested in a lot of things people do. A lot of reports of them peering in windows, watching what we're doing in our houses. What's going on in there? So sometimes they even enter houses, which is kind of really scary. That's where I think it gets really terrifying, because, if they're willing to come into your house, that's crossing a huge line. And I think that's where a situation could turn absolutely deadly. But again, I don't pretend to know. Just my thoughts on the subject, but that's from the BFRO. Brand new, just from May 30th. So they're still out there, folks. They're still crossing roads right by cars, or standing there watching cars and then ditching. So for whatever reason, they seem to want people to know. All right, we're going to go to the Phantoms and Monsters and talk about a few winged cryptids There's a few reports I have here, and we'll get through what we can. We got about 15 minutes left, so we'll get through one or two of these anyway. Stop. Stop what? What am I stopping? What happened? Ghost Magnet says, stop. Stop what? I don't know what you're talking about. Did I miss something here? A group of companies that share the love of sharing the unknown. Okay. I know they're in my backyard. Oh, okay. Well, I would say put out a trail cam, but they seem incredibly adept at avoiding those. So if you can get a trail cam that doesn't rely on just infrared, if you can get like a starlight type of cam, I think those would be great for collecting pictures. If you know they're in your backyard, it's a great opportunity to catch one, at least on film. I don't mean in a cage, but there is a call here. Let's get to the call first. It's Android's on the phone. How you doing, Android? Can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you. How you doing, man?
I'm doing good, brother. What's going on?
Not much. I thought I'd just chime in on this road crossing thing. I don't know if I mentioned, but, me and my girlfriend, when she returns back and stay here in a couple weeks, we're planning to, take some trips up to some pretty popular spotted areas, with Sasquatch and everything. And, I've been thinking about that road crossing thing myself, and it almost does seem purposeful. You're right, but I've been the car geek that I am, I've thought about, okay, well, every car makes a different amount of noise, and even every different tire tread makes a different amount of noise. And so I'm wondering if maybe that confuses them, right? Some quieter cars, it might think, oh, that car is far away, right? A luxury car, something to ride smoother and quieter, Sure. It might fool them, if it's a quieter car, and maybe that has something to do with it as well.
It could be. That's a valid point. Maybe they're not really good at estimating how far the car is away. Maybe we're much better at that because we're just used to hearing cars. I don't know, but that's very interesting.
Yeah. I mean, especially when it comes, if all cars sounded the same, then it would, or had loud exhaust or big tread tires like a Jeep or something, obviously, and you'd be able to tell when it's close. But, some cars, especially some of these electric cars and some of these quieter hybrid cars, man, they're really quiet.
Dude, I almost got run over by a Tesla because I couldn't hear it. That thing made no noise. It was like, But you're absolutely right. With the electric cars, they make absolutely no noise, except the only noise is the tread. And that was very quiet. So that is a great possibility. And that's an interesting take on it. Yeah, I think that's very interesting.
Yeah. Absolutely. I also wanted to say, you're technically the person who really kind of got me convinced that these things are real. Like, I don't know what they are. I've never seen one myself, but, I listened to Wes's show before, a few times even before finding you. And you get really into the nitty gritty of these things too. And I would say you're the one who's kind of pushed me over the edge to make me realize that these things are real, whatever they are,
Right. Yeah. I think they're out there. I really do. I mean, I had the closest event I've had to one is I'm pretty sure that it was. I didn't see it again, but I heard the growling right behind me, and it was the most menacing, deep growling I've ever heard in my life, and it was terrifying. I was just a kid though. I was only a little kid at the time, but I think that they're a lot more widespread than people think they are, and I think they're actually much closer to our civilizations than most people think they are too. It's like a lot of people like to think, well, they're just out in the distance, into the deep woods, miles away from anyone. But I think that they might venture in into our areas after, nightfall. At least, there's reports coming in from some surprisingly urban areas of people seeing them. So I think that they are
that one you read the other night, like a few nights ago, and it was the county over next to me. I was in total shock because it said it was near Liberty Reservoir, and it's like this man-made reservoir. It's basically like a big lake, but it was man-made from a dam, and it's not in a populated area, but it's a very suburban area where, like most of the community or neighborhoods out there, they're not like tract homes, but it's like there's a house on every few acres or so, you know,
Sure.
but there's a lot of woods in between all the houses and stuff. So it's pretty populated, you know.
Right.
And so I was shocked when I read that report, and I posted it in the local community Facebook group and said, hey, somebody reported in our community last year that they had seen this. You know, about half people were like, oh, cool, you know, and then, you know, the other half people were like, oh, it's BS, blah, 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 you know, and I got into it with one guy, and he was like, they're not real, there's no reason to believe, and I got into it with him and was like, dude, I'm not saying they're real, I'm just saying the possibility's there, the evidence is there, that, you know, based off the fossil record of Gigantopithecus and all this other stuff, and, yeah, I mean, it's amazing how close-minded some people are, you know.
Right. Oh, yeah, absolutely. But I think that, you know, when you take a look at the body of evidence out there, you know, there's a lot of evidence. There really is. And maybe it's, you know, it's not a body, but there's a body of evidence that is extraordinarily compelling. And if you can look at, you know, the thousands of casts and tens of thousands of anecdotal reports and you know, hair samples and so much more, you've got to willfully not want to see it at that point, at least to just outright dismiss all of that. So, and there are those people too. There are those people too. So,
yeah, and they had recently found that DNA evidence. Maria Mayer, I believe her name is, in Kentucky on the show, and they found like monkey DNA in eastern Kentucky. Like, that's mind blowing. And you know, somebody like her would not go along with making that up. You know, she's got a credibility as a scientist, reputation to keep. You know,
right. You know, and that's another thing. It doesn't necessarily have to mean Sasquatch necessarily, but there's other things out there reported, like the Albata witch and like almost like feral monkeys living in the East Coast that have been known to apparently attack cars. Like they'll run after them and like start tearing them up. So there are other things out there potentially, and perhaps that's what they found the evidence of. And who knows how they got there? It could just be the zoo that closed down kind of thing, or escaped monkeys from a circus. Who knows? But anything's possible. But I think that there are many things out there we aren't aware of.
Oh, absolutely. I totally agree. Yeah, there's a lot of black cat sightings in Virginia and West Virginia too, as well.
Everywhere. And it's surprising that the thing that surprises me most about that is the amount of pushback from the government bodies that, no, they're not here. You know, Department of Natural Resources everywhere, like, no, they're not in our area. And people are finding prints and trail cam photos of these things. Now, I will say, if you see a trail cam photo of, oh, look at this one caught in Kentucky, and then you'll research it, and it's actually from like Zimbabwe or something. There's a lot of that out there too, but I think people have legitimately caught very, very real trail cam photos of these big cats that aren't supposed to be there anymore, and they're there.
Yeah, absolutely.
They're there.
Yeah, I believe it too. Yeah, they're there. Yeah.
All right, brother. Well, I got another call after I get done with you, and we only got minutes left, so I'm going to let you go. But thanks for calling in, man.
Absolutely.
Take care, brother.
All right. Have a good night.
All right. Good night. And this call is coming from area code 406. You're on the horn. Hello?
Is that you?
It's me.
Am I on?
Is this Jake?
Yep, it's Jake.
How you doing,
You
buddy?
got me.
Yeah, I got you. Good to hear from you.
I'm doing good. I just came in to call in once more. I found another story that wasn't my own, but I wanted to share it with you guys.
Oh, please do. Yeah. You got 7 minutes, so yeah, let's do it.
All right, I'll make it short.
Okay.
So, I heard about this elk hunter who was horseback riding and looking for elk.
Mm-hmm.
So he was horseback riding and looking for elk up in the back of Baldy Mountains.
Okay.
And he came across these Bigfoot tracks.
Ooh.
And so he went back down to his camp and took down his camp and left the mountain with his horses and came all the way back up and plastered them. And what was kind of cool is that there was only one article in the newspaper about it and nothing else.
Oh, yeah. Isn't that kind of sad, Jake, that people don't want to know about it? They don't even want to talk about it?
Yep.
I think
and
so.
The other cool part I noticed was that we had a convention at the Science Hotel about Bigfoot, the Bigfoot convention,
Uh-huh.
and that elk hunter never showed up at the Bigfoot Bigfoot convention.
Yeah, that's weird that he went to
And
all
he-
the trouble, huh?
And he won't talk about anything he saw about the Bigfoot.
Yeah, I think for some people it's really hard because they didn't believe in it before, and then they find proof of it. He did find the proof. He casted the foot, but then to have to live, maybe he got a lot of problems from a lot of people about that. Like, oh, you're just crazy. That stuff's not out there, and they made him feel bad. So he just was like, no, I don't want to talk about this anymore. I don't want to even deal with it. You know what I mean? Some people are really mean.
Mhm.
Wow.
There was only one article in the Sanders County newspaper, and I thought that was kind of crazy.
That is crazy. You'd think that people would be talking about it everywhere, wouldn't you?
Mhm.
Yeah.
Nothing else.
Yeah, that's tragic, but I'll tell you what, I think it's conversations like this that really help, because I think there's a lot, people out there listening and they're going, hey, maybe I can talk about what I saw, and hearing people discussing it openly, I think helps other people to come forward and start talking about their stories. So hopefully more and more people will come out and tell us what they've experienced.
Yep. Also, that guy, I also know he was a local rancher too.
Oh, sure. So maybe he really got
Yeah.
harassed about it, huh?
Yep.
Wow.
Local ranchers are like not known for doing any fake stories.
Yeah, usually those are pretty honest people. You're right. Yeah. Wow. That's fascinating, Jake. And I'm really glad that you called in and shared that with us. I remember you wrote that to me in the email, and I thought that was incredible.
Yeah, I did.
Yep. But keep those coming, man. Anytime you hear about stuff like that, I'd like to hear from you. And
Yeah, I will.
we'll keep talking. Okay, brother?
All right, I will.
All right.
Bye.
Take care, buddy. Good night.
Good night.
That was Jake. That's really great. Jake's awesome. He's a very enthusiastic, and he emails me a few times so far, and it's just been really cool talking to him. So, and he's out there listening over in Montana, so it's a lot of fun. But anyway, ladies and gentlemen, we're down to about the 3-minute mark. Mr. Wes Germer's in the chat. How you doing, brother? Thanks for stopping in and checking us out. This lower third right here, this says my name. That's Mr. Germer's work right there. Thanks again, Wes. I think it looks beautiful. I love it. It's even got the animated exploding subscribe. Awesome deal. But we are down to the wire. I was going to go through some Phantoms and Monsters reports, but that's okay. I don't ever mind. I'd rather you guys called in and have discussions with you way more than I like to cover articles. So if you're ever sitting out there going, I'd like to call, but he's going to talk about this stuff or that stuff, it's like, go ahead and call. I'd love to hear from you guys, to hear what you've seen, talk about what you think about things. This is a conversation. The portal is a conversation, first of all. And I love talking with you guys and hearing your thoughts about this different phenomena. And you guys I have to tell you that you guys have taught me a ton about this stuff and brought me a lot of information that I never would have found on my own. And that means so much. As you're going through your day, if you're finding things like videos or articles and you think that they'd be fun to discuss, please email them to me at paranormalportalradio@gmail.com. I'll be happy to discuss them. And when I'm reading them, if you want to call in and discuss them on the air, that's great. I'm also going to be putting together another listener stories show for the podcast. If you haven't checked out our podcast, please check it out. It's available for both Android and iPhone and everything else in between, or on your internet browser, whatever. You can find the Paranormal Portal anywhere out there on iTunes, iHeartRadio, Pandora, Spotify, Castbox, Google Play, Stitcher. We're kind of everywhere out there. So just do a search wherever you're listening to podcasts. Look for the Paranormal Portal, and we should be there. And if you find a platform that we're not, let me know. That you listen to and you haven't found our podcast there, let me know. And if you're on iTunes and you like the show, leave us a review. That'd be great. If you don't like the show, never mind. Never mind. Don't bother. It's okay. But anyway, you guys are awesome. Thank you so much for being a part of my journey. Every time I come on the show, it's just an an amazing pleasure. And I realize that may sound campy or canned, but I can't be any more sincere when I tell you guys that it means the world to me that I come on and do these shows, and that so many of you are here with me and hanging out and talking in the chats and calling in. This is my dream. You guys are living my dream with me. So thanks for being a part of it. And thank you to all of you out there spreading the word. That's about all the time we got for tonight, ladies and gentlemen. So just remember, I love you all. Be good, be kind, be nice. Take care of each other, help each other out. Find the magic in every day, and remember to laugh as much as you can, and keep emailing me, paranormalportalradio@gmail.com. Find us on Facebook. Find us on, Twitter. We're there too. It's at Paranormal Portal, PORTL. So we'll see you next Wednesday. Good night, everybody. Have a great rest of your weekend.
Woo!